Welcome back. As we told you, today is a solemn day to remember those who died in the September 11th terrorist attacks.
We've been talking all morning just about some of the stories that we remember, of course, from that day, even now 19 years later.
Former President George W. Bush declared the first Patriot Day just before September 11th in 2002. Now, that was a year after the attacks that claimed nearly 3,000 lives. On September 11, 2001, terrorists hijacked 4 planes. 2 of them crashed into both World Trade Center towers in New York, causing them to collapse.
Another crashed into the Pentagon, while a 4th went down in a field in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after passengers struggled with hijackers. On Patriot Day, you can honor their memories by volunteering, spreading kindness, and participating in remembrance vigils. Former President Barack Obama expanded Patriot Day in 2016 to include a National Day of Service and Remembrance.
Of course, you're looking at ground zero there.
You've been there. You were talking about the fact that you've gone and visited.
I wouldn't say an emotional person generally, but I teared up and I cried when I went out there, and there was nothing going on. There were no events. It was just people kind of gathered, like reading all the placards that are out there and just seeing the fountain and the memorial. It's really a moving experience just to be there in person.
It's weird too, because we were talking kind of during the breaks about the fact that there are whole groups of our population now that are too young to ever even remember that.
Yeah.
And you're kind of, Alyssa's kind of like at the very tail end of that as far as age.
Yeah, I feel like everyone that was younger than me when it happened don't really remember the events. I was in 3rd grade, so that was, I was like 8 years old when that happened. And I just remember sitting in class and all the teachers gathering in the hallways, and of course the boys were 8 years old, so they put it on the TVs, and it was the first kind of news thing that we actually watched, like all in its rawness, really watched it. And the boys were like, oh, cool, you know, they didn't get it, it was real. And then the teachers are trying to explain to a room full of 7 and 8 year olds that this is real and this is happening and people are losing their lives, and you know, it was a scary thing.
It is, yeah.
One of the things that we always call back to is now, because we're so far removed from it, the day after, September 12th, being such an amazing day, because that was the day we had kind of, as a country, moved past that moment and came together, whether it was helping with blood drives or the cleanup or whatever the situation was. And I remember just that unity that everybody had, no matter what, even, you know, your jerk neighbor who never cut his grass, whatever, like you still loved that guy.
That's true.
And there's something about that that's very powerful.
I remember being in Spanish class and we heard the news, and then they rolled in, back then you had like the TVs on like the carts, you know, that they like would roll in. So they rolled that in, and then we were just kind of watching it and like not fully understanding too what was going on. But then once we kind of realized, and our teachers were like explaining to us like, hey, this is what's going on, I think it was just more shock than anything, seeing it and witnessing it happening live. Of course, the first tower that went down, and then seeing that second one too.
It's also weird to think, on kind of a lighter note, the fact that there are kids learning that in history books now. Like, we lived that history.
Right, without ever seeing it and witnessing it.
And I remember it showed up so soon in the history books. It was already like there, like the year or 2 after. I mean, we were quick to make sure that we don't forget, and we always remember it every single year. But when you talk about September 12th, I remember riding around in my dad's cop car, and he was playing God Bless the USA, like around the neighborhoods. Everyone's coming out and just like coming together and saluting and stuff. So it's interesting because as so many sad memories that there are associated with that, and kind of like people growing up, you realize too, like it was such a time of coming together afterwards.
Yeah, true union there across the whole country.
We certainly thank our veterans and military members who are still fighting to protect us, and
and all the first responders who were out there that day. No doubt a lot of them, you know, still recovering or dealing with health effects from just being out there, all the smoke, the debris that came down following the attacks there.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, and I was thinking of I mean, I wonder what we'd have and who we could hear from if this happened, God forbid, in an age like this where you have so much media. Because I was going back and really trying to like get into the remembrance today, and listening to the voicemails left by people who were on the plane. I mean, it's just amazing to hear. Some of those last words were just
heartbreaking.
Heartbreaking,
It really is.
Having said all that, there's a 300% chance that tonight at 2 o'clock in the morning, I am really deep in the internet, continuing to watch the old footage and just remembering it, because it just brings back so much emotion and so many
you guys
memories.
recorded it too, your family, on the VHS.
On VHS, literally VHS tapes. And my family had them forever.
Well, and what do your daughters know about it, being so young?
Literally nothing. And so my wife and I were just texting during commercial break, like, hey, how are we going to handle this today?
And talk to the kids about it.
And so we're going to, and we're going to watch videos, and they're going to learn and understand, and we're going to remember the folks who lost their lives on that day.
Never forget. For sure.
Hey, that's.
Tough conversation.